Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat, and I know it's been a long time since I've been able to do anything really with the channel at all, but here I am, back in familiar territory with some interesting topics to talk about. I've noticed these things popping up in the news. Something about a Richcession, which, believe me, you'll get to hear all about that in just a minute. The whole healthcare thing, I've been seeing that popping up all over the place, which I'm not entirely sure why it is this way here in the United States, but it seems that the only solution that we can come up with is for a third party to pay part of the bill. And then there's also some issues with the border and the federal government. Anyway, more of that coming up in just a second, so stick around. It's like midnight now, so I've got to make sure that I have enough caffeine in order to actually do this. Hey, glad to see you there, Mutant Riff. It is, it's been a little while, and I do need to encourage everyone who gets on here, please be sure to comment. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we talk about, and, I want to hear from you because I'm not always the smartest person in the world. Well, I'm definitely not ever the smartest person in the world. So please share your knowledge with us. Leave your comments. And why am I hearing myself? Hang on a second, everybody. This is the trouble with you. You come back and you end up with, there we go. Problem solved. We won't be hearing me in the background. Hopefully you'll just be hearing me one time instead of like that. Anyway, like I was saying, there's all kinds of stuff going on. I want to start off with this healthcare business because I've been noticing this all over the internet, people talking about it. I guess this is something that just never goes away. Everything is so expensive here in the United States. If you go to the doctor, and which, you're going to have to go to the doctor at some point, it costs a lot of money. If I go to the hospital, you have to worry about that sort of thing. I understand you can go to the emergency room and you can get things done if you need to, which is great, because in other countries you can't really do that. But, at the same time, it's going to end up with a huge bill, whatever it happens to be. Now, the solution that apparently has been pushed in this country is just to have, you just have to have health insurance. I've been seeing it coming up in, the category of people looking for work, that sort of thing. If they're going to be looking for benefits, some kind of, you got to have some kind of a good health insurance package. Otherwise, I'm not interested in the job. And having lived abroad, I look at that and I think, nowhere else that I have ever gone is that even a consideration. I mean, even in China, it'll come up and people say like it's part of the law. You have to have some kind of health insurance coverage or whatever, but nobody's ever thinking about it. And the reason is when you go to the doctor, it's not going to be so expensive that you can't afford to do it. I mean, it's affordable for pretty much everybody. A similar level of care as well. Now, I know people are going to say, in the United States, we have the very best healthcare there is, technologically speaking, and skill. That doesn't really matter a whole lot, I mean, if you can't afford it. But I'm just looking at it, and I don't understand why the only solution that anybody ever comes up with is, we've got to have health insurance. You would think that rather than coming up with this scheme where we pay money to a third party, which right now, as things stand, the money that gets paid to these third parties is ridiculous. I mean, health insurance premiums are out of control. I remember when I first started working, it was like $40 a month. I'd have like a $20 copay. That's completely gone. If you ever get health insurance through your job or any way, then you're going to be paying an enormous amount of money. In some cases, it's like I don't even make that much in my salary to be able to pay for that health insurance. Why do we have to do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. Paying a third party so that they can pay part of the bill. Why don't we do something about the costs? And, why is it so expensive? That's another thing that I've heard argued over and over again. People going back and forth. I think that as a country, we've kind of reached the point now where we don't have we can question some of the stuff that we've been told by political parties and government. The one that I always heard was, well, these companies, they develop all these incredible technologies and they need to make their money back. And I look at that and I think, that's not what's really happening. What we're doing is we're subsidizing healthcare for the rest of the world, because in other countries they're not doing that. I mean, they're getting the same medicine at a significant discount compared to what we get here in the United States. And I think that a lot of that is baloney. They can tell us all kinds of stuff, and there's a lot to question here in this country when you really start to look at it. And remember, you do need to question it. And I do want to hear from you guys. Remember to comment. Let me know what you think, because I don't know all there is to know. I'm sure that some people are going to come at me with the argument about, they've got to cover the cost, like we just said, or we have the best healthcare in the world. But just keep in mind, it doesn't matter how good of health coverage or healthcare there is in the country if you can't afford it, if you can't have access to it. I mean, what do you do in those situations? Like I said, I'm just coming back from abroad, and there's nowhere that I've been. And China is the most remarkable one, because you'd think that it would be, this big socialist thing because it's a communist country. And, of course, China's in the news lately for other reasons, but we're just talking about my experiences with healthcare here for the moment. We can get into the whole China thing later on, but just looking at it, and by the way, I don't know how long the camera's going to last. I had this battery thing for the camera, and I brought it back with me from China and France, and somewhere along the way, the actual plug for the battery, well, it's not here now. I have no idea where it is. It could be in China. It could be in France. One of those two places, but it's certainly not here in the United States. So I'm not sure how long the camera's going to last, but we'll do our best for this first live stream after so long, which is going to be a regular thing now. As you can see, we're back in regular places. I think that the internet is working well enough. It should have low enough latency that we can keep the stream going. But yes, this healthcare business, when I'm in China, I don't have to worry so much about the cost. I go into the hospital, whatever it happens to be, and I never ever worry that, oh my gosh, if I go in here, I'm going to get, I'm dead because I'm going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills. Now, I did think that way early on. I remember when I first went to China, I got really, really sick. You do have to be careful, what you eat, especially if your stomach isn't used to it. Here in the United States, we're kind of spoiled. Our food is, for the most part, pretty safe. I mean, if you do something foolish yourself and leave out, the tuna fish sandwich or something and decide to eat it and get really sick, that's something that could happen. But overall, it's pretty safe. But elsewhere, things can go wrong. And and sometimes it's not that things are going wrong. It's just that your stomach isn't used to it. In either case, I'm getting off topic here. I got really, really sick the first time. I'm not sure, was it the first time or the second time I went to China? And, I didn't eat for over a week. And, I was really reluctant to go to the hospital because in my mind, I'm in a foreign country and I know I don't have health insurance here. I have health insurance back in America, but I don't have anything that's going to cover the cost here. So if I go into that hospital, who knows what's going to happen? So I delayed and I was super sick. I could barely even move. And finally, I was prevailed upon by my friends in China to go to the hospital. So they took me to the hospital and it was nothing. The bill was like nothing. I mean, the doctor, they took care of me. I felt a million times better. It was a strange experience because I was in a hospital and I couldn't understand what was going on. The doctor didn't speak English. They were putting an IV in me putting stuff in it and in my arm, and I didn't know what it was or what it was going to do. I think that they were just, I was dehydrated at that point and they were just adding fluids. But in either case, I didn't leave with this enormous bill. And it wasn't because the health care is subsidized by the government. It's cheaper. Why is it so expensive here in the United States? And why does nobody ever think to address that part of the equation? I think that at one point, Donald Trump was talking about bringing some of the healthcare costs down. Let me adjust this a little bit. Hopefully you guys can actually hear what I'm saying. I know you'll have to let me know in the comments or in the live chat there if you can actually hear me. But why don't we address the cost? I've heard everything from it's because of malpractice insurance, it's because of this or that, it's because of the level of technology and the skill involved. But is that really the case? Is it really because of those things? Or is it because of the cost of medicine? I'm sure that the hospital itself, I mean, most of those bills are probably not coming because of medicine, but because of care. But we need to do something, whatever it is. If it is because of malpractice insurance, if it is because of any number of things, then maybe it's time to start doing something about that so that people don't have to worry so much. Maybe the answer isn't having health insurance. Maybe the answer isn't, poor people have to get Medicaid or something like that. Maybe the answer is just finding ways to bring the cost down so that people can actually afford it. It's kind of strange to me that we have this system set up. Nobody can afford the kind of health care that we have. Nobody can afford it unless you have insurance. How did we get there? I imagine it's probably too complicated for me to understand. But if you know, you can let me know in the comments what it is that's causing all of this. Yes, leave your comments. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to be enjoying what we're saying here, be sure to leave a like. Yeah, there she is. Hit the like button. I think it helps with this. It doesn't matter if you want to help this channel or not, but if you're enjoying what you are hearing, you can go ahead and hit that like button. Of course, if you don't like it, you can hit the thumbs down. That's perfectly fine as well. I'll take either one. Vote of approval, disapproval, whatever it happens to be, we'll take it here. I do want to hear from you guys, though. So yeah, this healthcare business. Why is it always this strange solution of a third party? Or, the other one, which will never happen because there's too much money involved. And as it turns out, money controls the government. Government healthcare. Don't worry about that. Anyone who's worried about, this country having nationalized healthcare, it's not going to happen. It's not. There's too much money being made from that with these insurance companies, so you really don't have to worry about that one. We need to do something about that cost. That's another one. I don't know if the health insurance companies are going to agree to that. Maybe that's the problem. The government is too controlled by money interests. We need to fix that problem, and that'll kind of solve a lot of this stuff. Maybe. Now let me see this other one. Let me pull up my notes here. Oh, where is that thing? This is another problem with coming back and not having things all completely set up. I heard that in Texas, the federal government, where Texas has built this border wall, is actually going in and lifting up the fence and letting people in. I thought that we had a problem where, they were saying that terrorists possibly had come into the country and we have to worry about that. What in the world are they doing? I don't understand any of what's going on. Our government makes no sense whatsoever. So they're responsible for, enforcing the law. It's the executive branch. And there they go. They're helping people to break the law. I completely don't understand how this country works. Let's see. Mutant Riff. Can we get the same plan as Congress gets for their health plan? See, that's the thing. Why not just not have to have health insurance at all? Why do we have to have this system? Why can't we just have it be affordable? I know people are going to be arguing and saying like, well, it costs all this money to make the medicine. It doesn't seem to be affecting other countries like it's affecting us. So maybe we can find a way to bring those costs down, and then we don't have to have any health plan. Like I said, in China, I didn't ever, pull out an insurance card or anything when I went to the doctor. I just went in, and it was affordable. I didn't have to worry about it. If your kid is born over there, which I'm not, advocating for you to go and have a kid in China or something, but you're not going to be paying $30,000 or whatever ridiculous amount it is now to have a kid. It's significantly less. We'll put it that way. Why do we have to have health insurance? Just get rid of this crazy cost problem, and we can all afford it. It that makes more sense to me. I look at that with all of the social programs. Why do we have to have all this stuff? Why don't we do something about the cost? And then we don't have to have special programs. If housing was affordable, for example, we wouldn't have to have, the government helping people to have housing and all of this stuff. It wouldn't be a problem. This is more of an argument for what I have seen over in Europe. They have 1 million programs, but they tax you to death. And I look at it and say, why? Maybe we wouldn't need these programs if people could just had money. if people just had money. I guess it's a little bit hard to do now because, as it stands, inflation, I guess, is out of control. I've noticed that the cost, of course. What am I saying? Let me pull up my notes here, because if I remember correctly, I was on my my TV and I'm looking through on YouTube at videos to watch, and I come across this thing from CNBC, and it says, it's not so much a recession as it is a Richcession. And I'm like, what in the world is that? Well, apparently there is a recession taking place, but don't worry, all of you people at the regular level. It's not actually affecting you. It's affecting rich people. I mean, I felt like I was being slapped in the face as I read that, and as I saw the thing. Really? So, are you being affected? I don't know. Maybe we're just foolish people here down at the regular level. But I don't know. Have you noticed any prices going up? Are things getting harder to deal with? I guess not. We're perfectly fine at this level. It's only a problem for the rich, oh my gosh, this Richcession. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Oh man, I guess I should feel sorry for all those rich people dealing with this Richcession thing. But, thank goodness, all of you who are into the whole prepping thing, don't worry yourself. You don't need to worry about it, because this is a problem for the rich and not for people at the regular level. So you don't need to worry yourself when you go to the store and the prices are out of control, or you go to fill up the tank and, it costs you a lot of money. Don't worry about that. It's just a problem for the rich people because they would like to get more of your money, apparently. I'm not sure exactly how they're hurting. I wish, when I go to the store and have to buy food or, fill up the tank, I begin to really wish that I was rich and that this was hurting me so much. But I don't know. It's so ridiculous that they can even put something like that out. How out of touch can you possibly be? Like I said, reading that was like a slap to the face. I don't know. I'm feeling it pretty. Maybe I'm rich. Maybe I'm rich and I don't know it, and that's why this recession thing is really hurting me, because I just don't understand what's going on here. I don't even understand my whole thing. Let's see. Mutant Riff. Oh, hey, hello, Peter Ehinger. Glad to see you here. Let's see. Frozen Duck 2 years ago was $12. It is now $25. I get my son 2 every year, one for Thanksgiving and one for New Year's. Well, my friend, I guess that this is just part of the Richcession, eating that duck. Fancy Beijing roast duck or whatever it is. Now, yeah, it's crazy. The prices are out of control. And if you think it's bad here, you should, well, actually, I think it's about just as bad here as it is in Europe. They keep raising the prices. When I was over there, just watching the prices go up and up. It's still, I don't know. I think the worst of it over there is the gas. I mean, I look at the price here, and I was, what was I paying? Like $3.39 a gallon. And I filled up the tank on the car, and it was no, let me see. If you're over in Europe, it was always about 80 to 100 euros to fill up a tiny, we're talking a tiny car. I rented this tiny car with a tiny tank, and it was still like 80 to 100. It's basically $100 every time you fill it up. Here, I think it's still, at least you would have to have like a truck or something for it to be $100. But over there, it's out of control. I don't know how anybody drives, how they can afford anything. It's just absolutely crazy. I'm looking at it, and it's like $3 for a gallon here. Over there, it's $3 per a liter. Well, it's a little bit more than that. Let's see. Mutant Riv diesel is $6.09 here in Northern California. Yeah, it's out. Yeah, yeah. That's it's still not quite as bad, I guess, as the whole the whole thing with the price in Europe. But yeah, it's out of control. Savage Air Guns, where have you been, man? Well, I have been all over the place. If you've seen any of them, well, yeah, I've done a few videos while I was out. I was always intending to get this whole setup going over there, especially in France, where we've been spending a lot of time. For a little bit, I was looking at the possibility of staying in China, but well, that's not going to work out so well. I guess I could be over there, but yeah, we went over to France. France is great. I've been in Europe for the last little bit, all over the place. Savage Airguns 285. Oh man, over in Ohio. Yeah, it depends on where you're at in the country. Before, I was always like, oh my gosh, these prices are out of control. And they are. I mean, let's face it, the United States produces a large amount of oil. There's no reason that we should be paying these kinds of prices. But after being in Europe and China, I feel like, wow, this is so cheap compared to there. I mean, I can actually afford to drive instead of whatever it was over there. We still drove around all over the place, but yeah, it's significantly cheaper here. But prices are on the way up again, is my understanding. And I suppose if we get involved in war, which is what it's looking like, then I imagine the price is going to go up even more because the military is probably going to need a lot of that oil. And it could cause disruptions in the Middle East, which is where the conflict seems to be really taking off. It's a bit of a concern. I know it's... yeah, I don't know. Every time I turn on the news or see what's going on, it's like, wow, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Iran is sending troops. The United States is supposed to have troops headed into Gaza. We've got China taking Israel off the map, which I don't know if that really means anything. But let's see. Savage Air Guns again. Last I saw, you were debating on where you were going to go and doing response videos to comments. Nothing new in my feed since then. Yeah, that's kind of the way we left it. It was kind of difficult. I mean, my son really wanted to come back to the United States, and that was kind of hard. I like it over in Europe. I think that, the food is significantly, well, I don't know. There's something wrong with the bread here. There's something wrong with the grain. I've kind of looked into it, and I've seen where, like, they spray chemicals on it, something to do with the way that the wheat is harvested. I guess they spray something on it. Is it Roundup or something that causes it to dry up so they can harvest it for sure, instead of having to worry about it getting knocked down or going bad or waiting for the sun to dry it up. Something like that. I'm not a farmer. I know more about animals, I guess, livestock, than I do about wheat or grains of any kind. But that's what I've looked into, and supposedly that's part of the problem. I don't know. Some people suggest that. All I know is I have certainly noticed a difference. If I eat bread in the United States, I feel terrible, and it definitely has some effect on my health. Versus in France, I can eat all the bread that I want, and it does nothing. So I don't know. I'm sure that it's not the best diet if you're going to eat bread all the time, but it is remarkable. The difference in the grain. I guess they don't even use stuff from the United States for that reason, because of the chemicals we spray on the stuff. But baguette, that's another story. Coming back to the United States, in France, I could pick up a loaf of baguette, which is the French bread, for about 30 cents. And here in the United States, I go to the store, they have this baguette. It's not even good. It's like this. It's not fresh. It's kind of, too soft. Baguette's supposed to have like a flaky crust on it. I go to pick it up. It's like $5. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, $5 for bad baguette. And yeah, I was paying 30 cents back in France. That's unfortunate. So yeah, I bought some once, but not anymore, because, well, hit it, $5 for bad baguette. It's unfortunate. Bread in the United States, I guess we're not exactly known for our breads, not like they are in Europe. So just Wonder Bread. We'll just stick with the Wonder Bread. I think that that's a safe bet. Some kind of dinner rolls, perhaps. But yeah, the food over there, definitely a big difference. Now, when it comes to meats, I think if you can find meat from like a local place, it's probably pretty good. But looking at it at the supermarket, it doesn't look all that appetizing. But of course, steak is a wonderful thing that they don't do very well, especially if you're in China. I had steak one time over there. It was so, oh man, it was super expensive, but it was the worst piece of meat that I have ever eaten in my life. It was so bad. I don't know what kind of meat that was, but it definitely was not what I would consider a steak. Let's see, Mutant Riff. I get my flowers by the case from, let me see, I'm trying to read this here. Gusto's in South San Francisco to make sourdoughs. I use Italian zero flours to make pizza. Hey, pizza. That's something I do know how to make. At one time, there's all kinds of things that I was considering at one time or another while I was in China. We had looked at buying this restaurant, and it's just like a takeout kind of to-go sort of place. And we didn't end up doing that, but that's another one that I had thought about, opening a pizza place because it'd be pretty easy, and I'm familiar with that business. But we ended up not doing that, but it would have been an interesting one. That sounds pretty good, though. If you're getting these kinds of flowers, hopefully it's the good stuff. Let's see, Mutant Riff. I've noticed that pork at the supermarkets have tasted like they are only feeding the pigs garbage instead of any type of grain. Yeah, pigs, the kind of stuff that they feed animals at these big farms is probably not the best. Yeah, the poor pigs, who knows what they're feeding them these days. It could be like the cows, who knows what they're feeding them. Let them go and eat the grass like they're supposed to. Give them hay in the winter, whatever, But the pigs, yeah, I don't know if anybody gives a lot of thought to that. I don't even know where the meat is coming from these days. I've heard that when you go to the store here in the United States, it'll say like USDA Select or something like that, and it's actually from China or Mexico or something, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I do know that in China, if you get any sort of meat, it's probably loaded with antibiotics. They have no problem feeding or giving enormous amounts of antibiotics and stuff to the animals to make sure they don't get sick, which is not a good thing. There have been a few cases while I was over there where they just the government comes in and kills all the animals in a town, and it's because they give them all these antibiotics, and then some super bug comes along and starts making them sick, and they panic. Like, oh crap. There's one of those super bugs. We've just created something incurable. So we got to kill all the animals. I don't know if it was that. If you're listening from the Chinese government, I have no idea what the reason was, why they came and killed all the animals. Maybe there was just too many of those pigs. They had to get rid of them so that we could avoid the swine flu or something along those lines. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the meat is coming. Well, not now. Now I don't think that China is allowing any of their food products to be exported at all. But, other places, sure, Mexico probably makes a lot of money. It might be a significant part of their economy, the farming and that sort of thing that comes up to the United States, which is also remarkable. I was looking at a company that does, organic foods and locally sourced stuff. And, most of the time when you go to the store, it's hard to find actual local produce. It's hard to find anything that's actually fresh. It's not as bad necessarily as times that I've experienced. I think when I was in California years and years ago, living out there, I used to shop at a place called Food for Less. If you're in California or somewhere out west, you probably are familiar with the place. Saying, oh yeah, don't expect fresh produce there. You get like an apple and you cut it open and you slice it and it like turns brown after a little bit. I remember getting the apples and they were already brown like that. And we hadn't before slicing them. You just bite into it and it's already oxidized or whatever. But that's probably not fresh. Most produce comes from at least 1,500 miles away. on a truck. Might take a week or so to get there. Who knows how long it sits in the cooler in the back of the store. I know if you go on the weekend, by the way, they load up on stuff because the produce supplier probably isn't bringing stuff in on the weekend, so they have to keep a bunch of stuff in stock, so they can load it up. Maybe you've noticed that. You go in on a Sunday and the lettuce is a little bit wilted. Well, that's probably why. They have to keep it stocked up in the back. China's a different story. There's been a lot of talk about these wet markets since the whole COVID thing happened, and how dangerous they are because they might be selling like bat soup or something, which is ridiculous. They don't eat bats over there. But you can get some really fresh stuff right from the farmer themselves because they come into these places and just sell their vegetables. I really miss that. I really enjoyed the fresh food that we were able to get over there. If you go to Europe, it's pretty much like the United States when you go into the supermarket. I don't know if they source from local places. I'd have to ask them. These are big grocery store chains. I think some of them own some of the shops here in the United States. I know I saw not Lidl, no, I'm thinking of Aldi. That's the one. A German grocery store chain that is now all over in the United States. It's one of the places you can go if you go to Europe and get cheap stuff. But I don't imagine Carrefour or Lidl or any of those are probably getting fresh produce right from the farmers. But I think they still have, we have farmers markets here. What am I saying? I guess that you can go to the farmers market in the United States and pick up fresh produce, I think. I don't know what the taste is going to be like. That's another problem. Food has no flavor. You go over there and it's like an enormous amount of flavor in the produce and different things. But here in the United States, it has a tendency to be a little bit bland. Bite into the apple and there's no taste. Tomatoes the same. I don't know. Something wrong with the food over here. Something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just being a jerk toward the United States. I'm just joking. But there's a lot of things going on in the world that could cause disruptions in that way. But it's a Richcession. As we were talking about before, this isn't a problem for the poor people or the regular people. Only the rich people are suffering because of this recession. Your suffering is just imagined. You're not really suffering. So vote for whoever. I don't know. It's crazy coming back to the United States. I'm already seeing political ads since coming back. And unfortunately, they're not skippable either. You're trying to watch something and this thing is going on about, this problem and that problem, and we're the only ones that can fix it if you vote for us, even though we're all part of the problem. I miss not having to deal with that. It was nice not having to worry. Sure, there were elections and things going on, not in China, but in Europe, I'd see the signs everywhere. But hey, I'm kind of, apart from that. I'm an American, so it's not like I can vote. I mean, if France wants to vote to let everyone in the world come into France and, do whatever, then that's, I guess, their business. I don't know what's going to happen with the place. It was kind of sad seeing the decline. And, speaking with some of the older French people, it was really apparent that they are not pleased with the way things are going. Which we can get into here in a minute. Let's see. Peter Ehinger, poor people have been suffering for a long time. Yes, and that is just, we let's face it. We like to believe that serfdom is gone a long time ago. We got out of that. We have freedom. Now we have capitalism where we can climb our way up the ladder. But we're just living in a modern version of serfdom. I mean, I've mentioned this before in videos. If I were to decide not to pay my taxes, then the government would just come and take my property and kick me out. It's very much the same as serfdom. If, let's say, a serf decided that they weren't going to pay their contribution to the lord of the land or whatever that they were living on, the very same, which is a form of tax. It's basically where taxes come from. They would find themselves out of the house and out of the land and finding a new place to be a serf, I guess. I don't know what they would do at that point. Become highway bandits? I don't know. But, we live in the same sort of thing. And you try to climb, there's different systems for different people at different levels. And the more you experience things, the more you realize that. I mean, I've seen it abroad. You can see how things are very different depending on what level you're at. Let's see. Mutant Riff. Land of the free is false advertising. Taxation and debt is enslavement. And the world is absolutely enslaved. See, Savage Air Guns. Old French not happy with New France. Old Americans not happy with new liberal America. Same story for each generation, basically for 200 to 300 years. Yeah, I think that the problem they have over there. So I remember years and years ago, I went to visit Europe, and at the time they were allowing people in. I don't know what they weren't exactly refugees, because I don't know what was going on, but they had all these migrants coming into Europe, and they had these big banners up, saying we're welcoming people. And they just basically let people in from everywhere. So if you do visit France, and it's fine as long as everybody understands where they're at. You'll feel like you're not you're somewhere else. That maybe you're in Northern Africa, because everybody everywhere you look, they're Muslim. They're like the ladies wearing the whole not just hijabs, but burqas and that sort of thing, which is fine. But you let a bunch of people in, and they don't become integrated into your society. They have no appreciation for, the people that built France, their heroes, their culture, what they appreciate. They have no appreciation for who these amazing buildings that got built. They just are, and they don't care about that stuff. So you keep letting people in, and you reach a point like in Europe where it's almost half the population is not from there. And suddenly, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to vote for other things. They don't care about your heritage. They don't care about that. And that's kind of what's happening in France. And it's, I don't know what to say other than that's just, it's too late. It's too late to do anything about that. The damage is done. It's just a matter of time now. Let's see. Savage Air Guns again. Less morals for more convenience. Let's see, at the cost of nationality and traditional ways. Sad. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, when you talk to older people there and the way that they describe it, it's I don't know. It's strange to hear. Just because of the way that we think of things, or we talk about things here in the United States. When somebody says, the French, and then they pause and they say the real ones. You're like, whoa, what does that mean? The United States is a very different kind of country. I know people are worried about people coming into the country from elsewhere. That's what this country is. I don't know. We don't have our culture. How would I describe it? People just kind of come in and get absorbed by the United States. You're going to become an American at some point. It's not like Europe, where you go there and it's literally, different groups living in different neighborhoods. I don't know how to describe it. Here in the United States, people come and they just kind of get it, how would I say, assimilated. They get assimilated into our culture. You can still have, your religious beliefs, whatever you have, but for the most part, people kind of get absorbed into our society and take on what we believe in. And we can take a lot of that, but in Europe, if you have France, for example, that's the country of the French. And if you let a bunch of whatever happen there, then pretty soon it's not. And I know that they have a problem with it. It's so complicated. I should probably not walk into that one. That's get yourself into trouble with that stuff. But yeah, it's hard to see because, like I said, there's all these beautiful buildings, there's all this beautiful stuff, and I know that within 15 to 20 years, those buildings are going to be crumbling. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and within that time, nobody is going to be there that appreciates what it is. They're not going to maintain it. They're not going to care, and it's going to just fall apart. Let's see. Savage Air Guns again. When I grew up, I could ride a four-wheeler down the street with a gun on my back at 12 years old, and the old man would laugh. Now you did that. Oops! The cops would arrest you in the same town. Weird how fast it changes. Yeah, it's remarkable how it changes. I remember when I was in high school, it was no problem for people to talk about guns. People would go hunting after school. They had a gun rack in their truck. I don't know. It's just so different nowadays. People are terrified of guns. I don't know. Well, I guess, if you watch the news, you would feel pretty terrified of guns. But I was in Switzerland not too long ago, and a lot of people have guns there. And I don't think that people are afraid of guns over there. If you talk to a Chinese person, they'd probably be terrified of guns because the only thing they ever hear about is how dangerous they are. People get, oh my gosh, why would you ever want to have a gun? I don't know. Why would you ever want to have anything, I guess? But yeah, a lot of people are afraid of guns, especially young people these days. They think that, I don't know, maybe if somebody has a gun, it's going to just, it's like an evil presence that's going to consume them and turn them into some kind of a monster that's going to go out and do some horrible thing. But, that's not how it works. I don't know. Maybe there's some people that probably shouldn't have weapons, but that's not for me to decide. I mean, the Constitution says what it says on that matter. But let's see. Savage Air Guns. We had trucks with gun racks on school property because kids wanted to leave school and hunt. No school shootings, too. Now, no guns and school violence everywhere. And, you have to remember, it's not the gun that does it. I mean, there's violence that takes place whether people have guns or not. They have incidents in China where people go nuts with cooking knives. People are going to use, if somebody's a violent person, this is another example, just like with the health insurance, Wow, we can't afford health insurance, or we can't afford health care. So the solution is not to bring the cost down or do something about that. The solution is to pay a third party so that they can pay part of the bill. Never mind that people are violent. We need to take the things they're being violent with and take those away. The solution isn't that. The solution is, of course, to, I guess, figure out why these people are becoming so violent. If nothing else, how to identify who is going to be doing something like this. Something along those lines. But no, we have to go after the tools that they use, when really they would probably use anything that was available to them. Let's see. Peter Ehinger, most people back then used guns correctly, not for killing people. Well, I think that even today, most people are not using guns to kill people. And the ones that are, I think that we have to ask the question, what is wrong with these people? Why is this happening? It's not, the gun isn't making people go do this. There's something wrong with this person. Anyone who would do something like that, there's something wrong with them. And that's what we need to figure out. What is going on here? What is driving people to become psychotic like this and decide that they can go out and just do these horrible things instead of, we'll just take away the guns. Well, then what are you going to take away the knives? Are you going to take away, fists? Make it so everybody has to wear great big things on their hands so they can't hit each other. What are you going to do? You can't take away everything. We need to figure out what's causing people to lose their minds and hurt people. That's what we need to figure out. Let's see. Mutant Riff. Our high school in California had both an indoor and outdoor range. Now you can't even draw an image of a gun in school. Boy, yeah. Heaven forbid. Boy, when I was a kid, there was not even a problem of, bringing like the toy guns or whatever to school and kids pretending to have war and all this stuff. Boy, nowadays, I can just imagine if some kid had a toy gun at school. I don't know. Can you? I assume that you can go to the store and buy toy guns still, but people would probably think you're a monster. Why would you buy your kid one of those? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Your kid's going to grow up to be a psychopath. It's like, well, I don't know. I really don't want my kid thinking like a gun is a tool for killing people or something. That's not really what I would want. I would want them to be familiar with it and not be overly afraid. What are they going to do when they see a cop with a gun? They're going to, immediately think like, hey, he's going to come and shoot me. I don't know. Maybe again, I'm stepping into things here that I probably shouldn't. They'll get me. And you can comment if you want. If you happen to be watching this after the live and you have some strong opinions about that, let me know what you think. Comment. Let us know, because that's important to have these conversations. I would be curious what someone on the other side of the issue would have to say about that, why they think that we should take guns away. I'm sure that there are plenty of reasons that they would give. I want to hear what they have to say. But, who knows where this is all going to go. Eventually, they're not going to take away the guns. Again, this is another thing where there's too much money, and it's too useful of a tool when it comes to, I guess, politicians trying to get elected. They can always bring the gun thing out of the the closet and say, oh man, we got to ban guns, so vote for me. Or the other way around, they're trying to take away the guns, so vote for me. It's just too useful. It's kind of like the abortion thing. It's just the reason that the Republicans never ever did anything about it, the conservatives, it's because it's too useful. These people, they want to get voted into office. That's all they really care about. Once they're there, they're not going to do anything. But they'll bring it out every time to tell you, we need to do something about this. And then the other side can they're going to try and take away your rights. That's kind of what happens with all of that. Let's see, Savage Air Guns again. Now no schools even teach archery. Boy, that's sad to see the way that things are going. I mean, I grew up around all of this stuff, so it's strange to think that people are so afraid of it. I was talking, of course, my wife is from China, so I talked to her about it. She's, of course, her view of guns. That's what I did. I took her to the store. It's just a hardware store. They have, interesting things. You can buy like chickens and stuff and ducks, baby ducks to raise, not to eat. Well, I guess eventually you could eat them. But, they've also got guns. So I take her over there and I'm like, hey, look at that. And I was like, whoa, that looks about like the ones the Chinese military uses, right? Oh, wow, yeah. And then she just quickly left from the gun area. And I'm like, it's not, why are you, it's not scary. It's not like, I don't know. It is kind of funny in a way. Let's see, Savage Air Guns, Rome 2.0, too much vanity and freedom to do as you want with no morals, and faith is like a virus to society. I don't know what's going on with American society. I've noticed that in France, the Macron guy, who, of course, everybody thinks they think bad of, I think that probably among conservatives, they probably don't like Macron over there in France. But it's interesting. He looks at this woke stuff. The French look at the woke stuff and they say, hey, this is a threat to Western civilization, and we need to make sure that we ban it. They've actually gone and banned, I guess, the use of these woke terms in the government documents and that sort of thing. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? You think of France and you think of like, oh, they're totally wacko leftists. And then they're going and doing that. Yeah, I see that Macron is no bueno. But he's doing stuff like that. At least he is like, hey, this is going to mess us up. We need to make sure we don't have any of this stuff. He's doing other things that you probably wouldn't agree with. But I hear about that in, French society. It's funny how the things that you don't expect, they're against, like the woke stuff. They really don't like that woke stuff over there. Let's see, Savage Air Guns. Whoa, just got an ad on this live stream just now. Hey, I wonder if I'll get some. I'm probably not going to see very much money out of that, but hey, they're running advertisements for all 11 of us watching or 10, or however many of us are watching this. I guess they're running the ads, so. I wonder what they're advertising. What kind of advertisements do they run on a channel like this? I don't know. Maybe something to do with travel, because I've been all over the place. I've still got this video from Kunming where I was staying in China that I haven't finished putting together. I'm debating, because this channel, maybe it's not going to be anything to do with travel because, well, I just get on here and talk now. This is a lot easier to do. And I do the travel stuff for my wife's channel, which, by the way, if you want to go check that out sometime. I've been debating, like, do I really want to put that together and put it up on this channel? or maybe I'll put it together and I'll put it on her channel because it kind of fits a little bit better. I thought I was going to do the expat thing and just talk about expat stuff, which is interesting. I mean, I've got a million stories from living abroad, experiences like France. Just going to France, you can have some really funny experiences. In the United States, you don't go to the bank and the bank is on vacation. But in France, that can happen. It's not a holiday. It's just a whatever day. And you decide, I've got to go to the bank. You walk up and there's just a piece of paper on the door saying, sorry, we're on vacation for the next week. Like the whole bank, I understand if like one person goes on vacation, but they've got this idea where, people enjoy their vacation more if all of them go. So the whole bank will go on vacation, or the whole this or the whole that. There was a bakery that I was going to, and they did that. They went on vacation. Of course, it makes a little more sense with a small business. Obviously, if the owner and their family are the ones running it, but the bank, the bank is on vacation. Yeah, that happens. It's kind of frustrating. France is one of those places where you love it and you hate it at the same time. And the things that you love about it, are the same things that you hate. Just like the bank, you love the idea that like people go on vacation, they have all these vacations, and then until you need something to be open and they're on vacation, and then it's terrible. But yeah, let's see. Savage Airguns. I never took a non-American to a rifle range that didn't enjoy it. The ad was for soccer, aka football, in non-American channels. They're advertising. Oh well, I guess I never. I've been to a football game here and there in outside of the United States, but it's not really something that I enjoy. I'd rather go to a hockey game or something like that. It just has a little bit more. I appreciate the level of athleticism that is involved with people playing soccer or football, as they call it over there. I appreciate that. I mean, the field is huge and they have to run across the thing. I appreciate that. That takes an enormous amount of endurance and skill to be able to do that, but it's just such a slow sport. They probably look at baseball and think the same thing, but well, that's I guess we each have our own slow sports. But hockey is something that you can enjoy no matter what. It's very fast. There's lots of action happening. Now, I know that guy got that was terrible. The guy got his throat sliced by the skate. But, that's the kind of stuff that happens, I guess. No, that doesn't typically happen in a hockey game. But something will happen typically in a hockey game. Let's see. Savage Guns, your wife channel is cool. Vegas to small town USA. Yeah, most of it is small towns. There's other places in there that are a little bit bigger, but most of it's small towns. She wanted to focus on small towns. It would have been easy, I guess, to just go to all these big cities and make videos, but we went on a road trip all over the place and took videos in all these small towns, visiting different things. There's more there than you would expect, as far as attractions go. The kind of attractions, I guess, that we go to, the art museum or something, historical places. It's kind of interesting to see. But, yeah, it's fun putting it together. Let's see. Mutant Riff. I was born in a town that the stores were closed every Wednesday. The two pharmacies would alternate which one stayed open every other week. They would swap customer records so people could get their prescriptions. Yeah, that sounds kind of like Europe in a way. If you go over there now, the stores aren't open all that late. If you happen to be on a Sunday, that's one of the more frustrating ones, If you need to get anything on a Sunday, then you better get there early or you're just out of luck, It's not going to be open. Versus China, where literally everything is open all the time, and Sunday and whatever day, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not, a national holiday, then everything is going to be open and you're going to be able to get whatever you need. But everywhere else, yeah, Europe, things close. The restaurants might be open for lunch, but typically they close. I think the most frustrating thing is everything closes for a couple hours at lunchtime. So if you want to go to the bank, again, the banks are always the frustrating one because that's where I always need to go. They'll be closed at lunchtime, you have your lunch break from work. You think, I'm going to run over to the bank, while I'm on my lunch break. No, that's not going to work. They are also at lunch, and they are not open. So too bad. You're not going to be able to do that. Anything on the weekend, like I said, especially in really small towns, you're going to find everything closed. Restaurants will typically be open most of the time. But let's say you want to go to a museum on a day when you would, it's the weekend, let's go to the museum or something like that. They might not be open. They would take those days off as well. Also, the lunch thing, if you go there at lunchtime, not going to be available. That's just kind of how it works. But I think the place I encountered the most of that was in Spain, in small places. It's like everything closes, at 6, before 6 usually. People just go home to eat. They wouldn't think twice about it. Let's see, Savage Air Guns. I grew up in rural Ohio. Town had 2,000 people. Had a Civil War monument, park, small school, post office, library, hardware store, 2 restaurants, a small grocery store, and a volunteer fire department. That's it. Surrounded by corn. That sounds about like a lot of European towns. If you go to France and you visit a small town, they're going to have a church. They're going to have probably a post office, maybe a couple of restaurants on the road, and surrounded by fields, just like that. Cornfields, wheat fields. It's amazing when you really get down to it, how similar some things are, no matter what country you go to. People will be about the same. I still feel like Chinese people are the most similar to Americans that I have encountered anywhere. Because in France, people are pretty relaxed about stuff. But in China, I feel like, they have kind of the same mentality when it comes to work that Americans do, even though they do it a little bit different. They don't have any of this minimum wage stuff or overtime or any of that. It's just like, well, you go to work. And they work crazy hours. But, I feel like the mentality about it is kind of the same. Let's see. Mutant Riff. That's for Savage Air Guns. Town had about the same number of bars, gas stations, and churches. Oh, you guys, you come from these places. I grew up kind of close to Washington, D.C., but this always blew people's minds. My hometown had about 200 people. I think it's 250 is the population. It's probably still about the same. When I would tell people about that in China, it would blow their mind. They couldn't believe that there is a place that has that small of a population. They just cannot fathom it. Because you go into China and even in a small city, one building is going to have far more people than my hometown had. So it was always kind of funny to tell them that and look at their face. You mean 250,000? Like, no, 250. And they're like thinking about it and like, no, that's impossible. And like, no, that's how many people lived in my hometown. About 250 people. They're like, no way. That's impossible. Now, people in France, of course, they would have no problem accepting that. They probably have towns that are much, much smaller than that. I've been to some of them, and they'll still have a great big church. Our town, I'm trying to think. I think we had a church in town. I don't no, that was probably the next town. I know some of the other towns nearby, like where I went to high school, they definitely had a lot of churches and that sort of thing, but my town was pretty small. Pretty small. We had a gas station. I think we had 2 gas stations, now that I think about it, and a blinking light. We had a blinking light. So, yeah, a great place. I was just recently back visiting in the area. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. My son would very much like to live over there now, but it's so expensive. Virginia is so expensive. To get anywhere, it's like, well, maybe we'll stay put until we save up about $500,000 for a small house. Then we can think about going over there. But yeah, you guys will have to let me know about your hometowns. You can comment and let us know. Thank you, Chairman Mao. And again, before we get off of this, because we are reaching about the hour mark here in just a few seconds, be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video today. I can't say it enough. Comment. Let us know what you think. And I guess we'll wrap this up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. See you then. ไฟพะวงหลงเฝ้าสาวเจ้าบางประกงทางห้วยงงหลงเกอ